All right. Okay. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I want to add to our agenda an amendment to the 2017 grand list under new business, and we have a letter regarding covered bridge etiquette that I'll put under the road foreman's report. And with that, we can move on to the minutes from September 13th.
I'll move we approve the minutes for September 13th.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to bills for payment. We have warrants 7, 7P, and cemetery fund number 3.
Well, I'll also do that. I'll move that we approve for payment warrant 7, warrant 7P, and the cemetery fund number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? So warrant 7 is for $18,168.06. And most of that's ditch stone, gravel. We have grand list mapping, tax refunds, and payroll transfers, and the monthly rescue bill. Any more discussion? Comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any public comments? Okay. Let's see, we've been asked by a member if we could move our agenda up for the Social Services Advisory Committee possible appointments. What would you like to do?
That's fine.
It's fine with me.
Yep. Okay, with that, so we have, we've interviewed 2 applicants this evening for the Social Services Advisory Committee. What would you like to do?
I would move that we appoint Libby Laughlin and Connie Baxter to the Social Services Advisory Committee.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Opposed?
I voted aye.
Oh, okay. Good. All right.
Good.
So, I'll let them know. Were you going to get out? Were you going to go do the beer and pretzel run?
Yes, beer and pretzels,
Yes.
coming right up.
Okay. Thank you. We wanted to get her, on the road quickly. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled program and the road foreman's report. I mentioned earlier, Lee is going to be watching this on television rather than make the trip in. Let's see. But he did speak to me about some of these things. The plow quote he's still working on. He needs to get 3 more bids on that. So that's tabled to another time. And the curb cut on Hopkins.
I do, yeah.
He let me know that there goes through no wetlands, burial grounds that he's aware of, or any other item that he was fine with this.
So I'll move that we approve the curb cut application for John Whalen on Hopkins Road.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Is this a new house or is it a new driveway or what? Why is the curb cut needed?
Said he's building a 24 by 36 Cape design. I don't think the permit usually tells you if it's a new, it doesn't tell you.
Sounds like a new house.
The sketch just shows a new house and that he's building a 24 by 36 Cape design house. So
Okay.
Okay,
you'd have to think it was a new house.
okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's see, we have to sign the Vermont Agency of Transportation report of work on the June flooding.
We already
We've
approved
already
this.
signed, yeah.
We've
but-
already approved it.
I
We
mean,
just
but
got to
if we
sign
get
it.
more money, let's just sign it.
Okay. Oh, we all have to sign it by the
Yes,
books, okay.
yes.
So we don't have to approve this again because we've already approved it. We just gotta make sure we sign it. At the last meeting, we approved the 27,000.
This could is this the same amount? Or is this an additional
This was for the storm,
emergency
No.
grant?
right, and we already,
We've already.
what do you call that? A pilot aid grant? And we already approved the
Okay.
application.
All right,
And we're receiving, is it
27,000,
27,000?
yeah, okay.
I mean, we could, if you want a motion, I'd make a motion that we sign.
Let's-
Yeah, let's do it that
let's-
way. I'll move that we sign the request for reimbursement for 27,000 for the road repair.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, no, Geraldine got it.
We need the buzzers, you know, that you can hit. Do we have a second? Okay.
Go for it, Joe.
Maybe a third.
No, it's just
All
Gerald.
right.
All right,
Yeah,
all
we've
right.
got to vote on
I'll
this.
second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so we don't have to work on this. So I think that's it out of the highway report, wasn't it?
Oh, there was
yes.
one addition.
Okay. There was.
Oh, the covered bridge note. yeah.
Yes, we got a letter from Teresa Maggio.
Maggio, yeah.
Okay. She was wondering what the proper etiquette for crossing the bridge
I'm curious also.
is. Well,
I have my own etiquette, but I'm not sure it's the.
I think originally we wanted, I think there used to be a yield sign on the east side because we wanted to clear the west side out of Route 30.
Yeah.
One of her concerns was, can only one vehicle be on the bridge at a time? And you can have, the bridge could be full of vehicles going one way, as long as you're all going the same way.
yeah.
Let's
be clear.
Yeah.
We don't want
I don't think the yield sign is there anymore to
It's a
yield
stop
to.
sign. It's just
Yeah,
a stop.
okay, it's a stop, but not a yield to Route 30, so.
Right.
So basically, the etiquette is you take turns and,
Yeah.
but more than one vehicle can be on the bridge and.
Yeah, the people or the vehicles on the Route 30 side should be given the right of way, just so traffic doesn't back up into Route 30.
Right.
So, but if you're, going through, someone was thinking, oh, you have to wait till the vehicle gets off the bridge before you can get up. No, you can just
Yeah.
sort of.
Multiple cars can be going in
On
the same
same
direction.
direction.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, that clears traffic quicker.
right. And just be, so.
It's troublesome. I
And
mean, it's
being
just-
mindful of when you're on the east side, being mindful of cars on the other side, that they really have the
They
right
have
of
the right of
way.
way, yes.
Um,
They're in a more dangerous situation.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, should we put up a sign?
I
to
know.
that effect?
I guess
Another
that's
sign.
the-
No, I don't think we'd be in favor of another
We'd have to
sign,
build
no.
a bigger bridge to hold all these signs.
But it
But
would be
then
nice
how
if it
would
was
people-
clearly articulated so that, it could go out in the email, just as a reminder that people know that there is a protocol for it. I don't know where that lives
I mean,
or,
how are people to know, especially
Yeah,
people from
right,
out
how
of
are people
town?
to
You
know?
know?
Well, right.
It's general. I mean, you guys cross it as much as I do, or maybe more. But I mean, it's generally just a first come, first goes. But you do like to clear Route 30.
Yeah.
You don't want to sit on the east side while cars just keep coming off of Route 30 when they could stop and let you cross. So it's basically just an etiquette.
but some people seem to think that only one car is allowed in the bridge.
And we've cleared that up. You can
Okay.
have as many vehicles as you can fit going the
Well,
same
we
way.
cleared it up
That's clear.
here at this moment in time, but I think the question was, how do people know who are new to town or,
Well,
Or don't even live in town.
Let's
live in town.
have a local resident in every, traffic jam there that can sort of be the example. But
I think this
another
is-
sign, I don't know if
Yeah,
another sign.
and this is rather unique because generally you don't have people that are that patient and waiting. Usually you don't have to worry about who's coming across the bridge.
Right.
This is an exceptionally patient person because
Well, she said she's never in a rush.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
generally you're lucky to get your turn to cross as
So,
they're coming through.
yeah.
So.
Having your headlights on, and there is a sign for headlights.
Yes.
But that helps.
I've wanted a sign, please yield to bicycles in the bridge. Because I have had cars on more than one occasion come in, when I was
Yeah.
halfway or
I think that's
Do
the
you-
bigger,
do you
the
have
bigger
the light?
risk.
I
I do not have lights on, but I always dress very brightly.
Yeah, it
And,
is dark in there. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you might be wise to walk your bike across.
I'm not going to do that.
okay, we'll revisit the sign business another time.
Yeah, there's too many signs going to take away from the beauty of the bridge if you got the whole end plastered with signs. I think that's
Or
least
you're going to slow
concern.
up traffic because some people are slow readers, you know.
It's a matter of courtesy, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's.
Will you respond to her by email?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. I'll clear that up. Good. Okay, so I guess that takes care of our road foreman's report. Yes? Okay, going on for correspondence for information. Is there anything that you would like to discuss?
I was happy to see on the sheriff's report that they were on Camp Arden Road, Hague Road, West Street, Carpenter Road, Bunker Road, Quarry Road, Rice Farm Road, Black Mountain, Kipling. I like the fact that we're not just sitting on East-West
Right,
Road
or in-
and Middle Road or in Route 30. I do like the fact that they're getting out around the community more.
Yes. Yep.
Guess that's it.
There was the VLCT Fall Planning Forum. There was a note there for some, was regarding insurance programs.
At the meeting that I'm going to. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So,
I pretty much signed up for most everything
yeah.
I think they just had a booth they wanted us to stop at.
Yeah. Okay, well, they're a good source of information for insurance. That's it.
I'm not sure if this is a place to bring it up, but Whetstone, I did get a call from somebody that was very unhappy. The state police, or the sheriff's department apparently didn't stay at the event Saturday very long, or weren't there at, and I'm sorry, I had the times written down, but I think he said 3:30 and 5 o'clock that he checked and they weren't there. So I think at another time, and they had obviously way more people than they anticipated, that we need to make it prudent that the sheriff is staying there the entire time.
Okay, that they have a good event makes it even more.
It's hard to complain to such a good event,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, the neighbors,
Yeah.
this particular neighbor was relatively upset. And he was wondering if there could be a policy that when somebody is coming to the select board for a special event permit or a permit for something that big, would the select board consider requiring them to alert abutters that they're coming to the select board and to discuss this? So
So that they could come too.
so they would be aware if they didn't see the select board agenda and know that this was going to be discussed, that they would have prior knowledge. So we might want to think about that another time.
I mean, they
For the
did
future.
tell us that they had been to all of the abutters.
And that was for the Act 250 permit, nothing to do with coming to us for our
Right, true.
And so
Right.
they felt that
They would
they
have liked
didn't
to
know
have
they
been
were
there.
coming.
Okay, so this, yeah, I thought they had talked at least with the Popple Commons, but maybe.
Well,
not.
it's funny. I'm not.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Act 250, Popple Commons did agree, apparently, as I was told, after some negotiations to withdraw their complaints.
Mhm.
But again, I think this person's concern was they would have liked to have been here to hear the discussion.
Yeah.
And that might be, I mean, when we're talking about an event of 1,000 people, maybe we need to do a better job of I don't know if it would be proper to ask them to, if it was a DRB hearing, they'd have to alert all the joining butters. So I'm just throwing it out
Yeah.
for food for thought at this time. I thought he had a good point.
Yep.
If you're going to have and I think they're going to continue to have events
I
here.
think so.
So I think we better start getting our ducks in line of how we're going to deal with
Yes,
this. So.
I think it would be easy, especially with them, to say, okay, before we grant another special waiver, we need you to notify everybody.
That it's gonna be on the select board agenda on such and such a
Right,
date.
so that the abutters,
They know that.
Yeah.
extra heads up.
So we probably have to adopt a policy for that, but, so I expressed those two concerns. So.
Okay. And the event went all
Yeah, did anybody else go? I went.
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay. No? No?
You and Harold didn't go?
We went by.
Okay, our camera person went.
Oh, yeah?
They were searching for parking, I know that. They hadn't pre-planned for enough parking, but they had way more people than they anticipated too.
Okay.
Yeah, the paper this morning said 2,000.
Wow.
Happy problem.
Yeah, double what they thought.
Yeah, they good article in the paper this morning.
Okay. All right, moving on. Correspondence for discussion and/or action. Ready for that? The zoning administrator sent out a letter to the Planning Commission, the DRB, and Select Board. He's concerned that with parking on the right-of-way throughout town, where some of these short-term rentals are being held to count on parking in the right-of-way, he feels that I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we're going to hold these properties,
Accountable.
yeah, then it's got to be fair throughout the rest of the town. So,
Well, I actually saw him today and told him that I drafted parking ordinance, what was it, a year ago? A year and a half ago?
yes.
That received less than overwhelming response. And I told him that I would get him that ordinance. The problem is that, as you just said, it applies throughout the town.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, the difficulty.
And I think that's what we were trying to address was exactly what he's saying, is that
Yeah.
we want something that's continual through the whole community, not just West Street and Dummerston Center. And
Right.
Right.
so we certainly bear in mind what he's saying because we went through it, but
Right. And I told him I would send him my draft.
Yeah. I'm just getting able to sort of sit comfortably
after the butt chewing
I'm
we got.
I'm not sure I want to bring this up again. My thought would be to just hand it to the Planning Commission and let them.
Yeah, it didn't seem like something
Pass the
that
buck
needed
towards
to
them.
come to us for action.
What do you think of that?
Maria's not even going to express it.
Well, we'll see how it comes out in the minutes. But I will say that Roger is very attentive to detail, and he's paying attention.
Yeah, and that's good. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're picking-
So what would be our response to Roger? He said, I feel that some guidance is needed here in the form of a clear ordinance or bylaw to specify when and what type of parking is allowed in right-of-ways, resident, guest, overnight, event, etc.
Right.
I
So
think
would
Joe's
we-
going to forward in what we had before and explain to him that the town was not particularly supportive of that.
Is that on camera, do you think? In the archives?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Was that a regular meeting or was that a?
that's maybe a public.
Well, I remember it was, it was
Public
warned.
Yeah,
right?
it's at the community
Public-
center.
public
Yeah,
hearing.
Select board meeting.
Yeah.
at the community
So
center.
it
Right.
was on BCT.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we want to refer him to that date
Yeah.
so he could hear the
It was in
discussion
December,
too.
I think. No, January.
October.
December? I don't know. There was too many of them back then.
You're gonna have to,
Yeah.
we're gonna delegate you to watch.
Yeah, I was doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so-
I'll have a date on the.
Yeah, you'll have a date on it. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah, so-
reference it and have them,
Yeah.
and then so that could be our response to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, that maybe it should come to the planning commission.
Right.
Yeah,
that
yeah, I think so. I think they're the,
likely.
Mm-hmm. I will.
Yeah.
I will get in touch with him.
Thank you, Joe.
okay. We had a letter from a resident just wondering if there was any employment in the town in a clerical sort of way. So she sent it to us. I was thinking we would refer this just to the town clerk, since she sometimes needs an assistant.
Mhm.
But other than that, I don't have I don't think she was thinking of an auditor's position. So, so if you want, I can take care of that.
Sure.
You okay with that, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to, I wrote a letter, after our last meeting, I wrote a letter to some of the board members of the community center in West Dummerston, asking them about, explaining how we occasionally get questions about parking, and asking them what their policy was or how they handled that. So Jean Momini and Lester Dunkley are going to come as soon as Lester is done with work.
So, Zeke, for my benefit, could you describe what the relationship of the community center is to the town, and who the committee is, who the people
Okay.
are that manage it?
Okay,
And who
I
owns
might
the property?
get some help from other people here, but the town owns the building, but it's leased to the Dummerston Community Center Board of Trustees or Board of Directors.
Trustees.
Whichever.
I think.
Yeah, yeah.
It's right in the town report.
Mhm.
Okay, so the town leases it to a board.
Yes,
It's trustees, yeah.
yeah. And they are responsible for running it. So, we can't say, oh, you've got to let people park. We've leased the grounds and building to them.
And for a nominal amount.
Right. Which they do pay, right?
Yeah.
But it's a nominal amount.
Yes.
It's not what you would
It's-
charge
it's-
renters.
No, it's $1 a year. I think, and the lease, I'm trying to remember if the lease is for multiple years at a time or just an annual lease. I don't recall.
Remember, we had to write it's for a period of time, because we had to rewrite the lease not that long ago, 3 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing the lease.
And
but-
are there any stipulations in the lease? I mean, can we see a
Really, you
copy
think
of
I'm
the
going to
lease?
remember 4 years ago?
Well, I think it'd be good to see a
We
copy of
have-
the lease.
I think the lease just holds them to the liability and the
Yeah.
responsibility, but
Right.
and to back up even a little further, originally when the town bought this, or decided to keep this, there was a large delegation in town that wanted the building sold, and a significant amount of people.
Once the school moved up to
Right,
the
and then there
east
was a
side.
significant amount of people that wanted to save it. So the discussion was that, okay, we'll save the building, but it's not going to be a cost to the town, and they'll have their own trustees, and they'll be responsible for the building. So that's what happened, and so I think now, even when it comes to the parking, I think I'd be interested to see what the trustees say. I mean, I think if they said somebody could park there with a $50 donation, that would be a good fundraiser for them. If the Super Bowl, they needed somewhere to park 20 cars. But I think we can't, I guess we should wait for the discussion.
Well, no,
but
I'm
that's
just looking
history.
for background, because we also contribute funding. Like when they need it painted, we contributed money. So
Because, we're
what's
trying
the
to protect our own
expectation
assets, yeah.
around that? We just make a decision at each time they make a request,
Right.
To
and we
town,
consider it.
yes, it goes to the voters at town meeting, and they decide, whether to allocate funds for painting or.
Oh, I thought we made that decision. They came to us.
No, we can put it on as an article,
Right.
or we can put it in the budget.
And how many
But
trustees
the
are they?
voters are the ones deciding that.
The trustees are Lester Dunkley, Randy Hicken, Ann Davis, Mary Tyler, Ginny Carter, and Jean Momney. That's who were trustees on last year's report.
Okay. That was 6 people?
Yes.
Well, as we had the discussion about parking in the village. There was definitely some pushback. And my thought had been, well, it is town property, and if there's not enough room for people to park along West Street, I think that property should be considered. We need to be mindful of the role of the trustees, but it is town property.
Well, I'd like to see a copy of the lease.
I think we should all get
And
that.
I'd also, I think we should wait for the conversation
Yeah.
for them. But I was just trying to get background in terms
Yeah.
of the
Yes.
history and the,
Mhm.
how it's organized.
Any other? Jean?
In regard to the amount that is given by the town each year, it's my understanding that the community center asks the select board to put that into the budget. It's not an article, it's in the budget. Yes.
Right.
A line item.
They didn't ask for anything last year. They,
No,
but the year that they asked for painting, I think that,
That was an article.
was that an article?
That was an
Usually-
article, I believe.
yeah,
Usually
that,
it's-
that was part of the capital
Yeah.
budget.
But usually it's just a line item.
Yeah. Yes, usually, it's, 1 or 2,000, to refinish some floors, or they just need them. But, yeah, and that just goes as a line item.
And it's always been my thought, my auditor thought,
That
that.
position's open still,
I know
Jane.
that, and I keep
Okay.
I get asked that once a week.
Okay,
When anyone asks for the town for money, they should also submit to you the money that they make each year and the money they pay out. Just so that you have that for your records, because that's just a business way of doing.
And do we get that from the trustees of the community center? Do we get a sense of how much money they take in for fundraisers and how much they spend on the building? And
I don't recall that.
I don't believe so, because I think that in a year that I was an auditor, we never received anything to look at.
And so you said that we contributed, or the town contributed to the painting for the upkeep of a building that we own, and so we want to keep it in good shape. So is there any report, or do we monitor that at all? Do we pay attention to what, or are we just trusting that they're going to tell us, we're going to trust that they're keeping it in good shape and we'll hear just by virtue of...
We have occasional meetings there, and it's also the town library and community center, so,
Yeah, just by
people
virtue
are-
of...
Yeah, I think
Go
several
for it.
times they've come to us with questions and
Yeah.
asked for input.
Right, and they've been very good when we do want to hold a meeting over
Yeah.
there. They're always very accommodating and
We-
are more than willing to give us tours.
And we should probably do that again soon sometime, because it's been a while, I think.
Right.
Has there ever been a time when someone of the board of trustees is also on the select board? So that there's that crossover?
Lester was, I don't know.
He was on the select board?
Yeah. Can't think, I don't know that any of the others were. Yeah, Lester was on the select board for several years. I don't know if he was on a trustee at that point, I guess, but
It might have been, because I was probably 18, 20 years ago, he was.
But when did the property go to, when did the school close?
I'm trying to remember, was it early 90s, was it?
93 or 94? 93, I think it was.
let's say 30 years ago, so it was close. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
somewhere in there.
I think they moved to the school in '95.
95.
95.
Okay,
So
so
we sort of done?
we'll revisit that when they
Yes.
show up.
Mhm.
So, now this is moving on to new business. the part of the show that
Oh, this
You
is
really-
where I
this is-
shine, isn't
this
it?
is-
I hope I don't screw this up.
Oh,
So let's,
that's
I move we recess as a select board and we convene as a liquor control board.
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So we have a,
Here we are, the liquor
yeah,
commissioners.
now we're now the liquor commissioners, yep. We have an application from Wyndham Wines for 1027 at Scott Farm. So I'm gonna move that we approve the request for Wyndham Wines on 1027 from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Scott Farm.
This is for the Montessori.
For the
school.
Montessori School.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
How many people are they expecting? Can you say?
It was on the application.
Okay.
I can dig it out if you want.
No, that's all right.
Yeah,
I
they
just-
can't have more than 120 people.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll move that we adjourn as a liquor control board and reconvene our select board meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, that was nicely done.
Almost flawless, wasn't it?
It was practice. Okay, so we have, we had an applicant for the alternate position on the Development Review Board that we interviewed at our last meeting, September 13th.
And our other applicant withdrew, or
Oh, okay.
withdrew
I
theirs.
wondered about that.
So we're down to one applicant.
So I'm gonna move that we appoint Jennifer Sargent to the DRB as the alternate.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
I thought she was great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Do you wanna contact her, or do you want me
Sure.
to contact her?
I'll
Okay. Yep.
send her a note. Okay. So, you
Yeah,
added this zoning administrator
Yeah,
to notify.
Previously, when we first started talking about short-term rentals and Airbnbs, I contacted the state fire marshal as part of our discussion and to find out how they get inspected and what the program is. And at that point, the fire marshal said he would like the select board to notify him anytime that we have, he even said a suspected Airbnb, and then he would contact them and interview them to see if they are in fact renting out. And if they do, they're required to go through a series of inspections through the fire marshal and I think the electrical inspector. But we at this point have no policy or procedure. So I would like, as a select board, for us to direct Roger that anytime there is a application specifically or a, what's the word I want?
Conditional use.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking if somebody says, if there's a suspicion that somebody's renting on a short-term basis, that we ask Roger to contact the fire marshal so that they can follow up. The concern is that if people are renting short-term rentals or B&Bs and they don't have the proper fire access and they don't have the proper fire suppression or
Safety.
alerts, the beepers, access and double remote so people can get out. They're just concerned there's going to be an accident in Vermont because we haven't followed some of our safety procedures. So I don't know if we just need to, as a board, ask Roger to follow up and forward these things to the fire marshal, or if we need to actually create a policy that this is what we do. But I think it's a discussion that we need to have, and I absolutely anybody applying, because you have to get the fire marshal's permit. But I also think if there's things flying under the radar that possibly we need to, because he'll contact them, and if they're not, they just tell him they're not, and that's
Yes.
the end of that.
I think
So I wanted to see what you folks
we
thought.
are, trying to get everything up on the radar,
Yeah.
that this would be something we should just ask Roger to do.
Yeah.
So remind me again, why we focus on short-term rentals and we have different rules and regulations for short-term rentals than any other rentals?
The long-term rentals are covered by the Vermont Rental Housing Code. And so if there are deficiencies, and that it's a lengthy set of conditions that someone renting is supposed to carry out.
And you still go through these same inspections. You still have a.
So if I want to rent my
Electrical
house, I have to,
You have to, your space you're renting has to meet the Vermont Rental Housing Code. And,
Even though we
does
rent
that happen? Do
if
people do that?
it usually does, because an electrician or anybody like that will report it to the state when they're there working.
Yeah, and your
We,
tenant,
like-
if your tenant, go ahead.
Yeah, like even our own daughter is renting the house next door that we own, and we had to go through all that. It's not a big deal. You just have to make sure that.
But who makes
that you-
sure that it happens?
I think the electrician notified the state. We didn't, and they come down, do an electrical inspection, and I think. the
That
electrical
hasn't happened
inspector-
for me. I mean, I don't,
Uh-oh,
we
you're
rent a
on the
place.
radar
I
now.
know. But I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's
how-
just you got to have egresses for people. You got to
Well,
have.
I know that, but I'm just
hardwired,
wondering, we're talking about how we as a town make sure this happens.
Yeah, it
And
should be
it's
happening.
not happening. It's
Right.
not, there's nothing that assures that it's gonna
We-
happen.
Yes, when we think about short-term rentals, we should also be thinking about the long-term rentals also, that they should. And right now, the long-term rentals seem to be more complaint-driven. So if you have a tenant and they say, well, I don't have, hot water, or there's no smoke detector, or, there's mold, then they contact the health officer, who will then come do an inspection and give the landlord a certain amount of time to come into compliance.
That's complaint driven.
Yes, that's complaint driven.
But I would agree with Geraldine. I mean, in my practice, I wasn't aware of these regulations for on long-term on residential leases.
It would be I was going to dig into this a little more, and so
Yeah.
with a little more time I can do that and find out.
Well, and one question is, should this? I know the planning commission is working on, these Airbnbs. I mean, should this be, part of their jurisdiction?
No, I don't think so. I think this is just a notification process that we notify the state fire marshal that we have this application in our hand, and really the person that's setting up the overnight, whether it's long or short or whatever, should be contacting the fire marshal. I think that's pretty standard.
No, I understand your concern completely, Steve, and I share it. But I just didn't know if this is their job or ours.
I don't think it's something that the zoning or planning would do. I think it's just something we direct our zoning administrator to pass the information along.
Yes, I think.
I think we need to look into this. I mean, how many, is there one state fire marshal?
Well, there's one for this area, yeah.
There's
There's
one.
more than one in the state, yeah. Just get right on the state website and the state fire marshal, and you might find answers to a lot of your questions. Or you could contact, I spent quite a bit of time on the phone if you wanted to contact him and do some research about this if you want.
Yeah, and I'll look into the long-term.
So maybe this could
rentals.
come up on the next agenda after we do some more research. Yeah. I don't mind contacting him again and getting some more input unless you want to.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Unfinished business. Are we ready to move on?
Mhm.
Unfinished business. We still have on our agenda the Miller Fund, options for.
I thought you added
Oh.
amending the grand list.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Maria.
Let's start.
Yep.
I'm glad someone's paying it. Now, I would have thought you would have
I
caught
was
us
gonna
on.
raise my hand.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was just testing you, actually.
Oh, good. That's
So
good.
this is a Lister era, as I understand.
Would you like me to explain?
Yes, I guess it's 36,100, so yeah, what,
It is Charlotte and I are going through some of the properties and trying to do a better numerical system. Along with her doing that, and with my fine-tooth comb that I go through every year on the grand list, once it's been done, we together found there was an error on a property that should have been contiguous together. So we had to correct that.
so we're reducing the grand list by
We're
30.
reducing the grand list because the grand list had two numbers of that
Yeah.
in with the non-residential should have only been one.
So I'll move that we adjust the grand list by decreasing it $36,100 based on the lister's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for finding that, Gene.
Yes, Gene.
Oh, well.
With your fine-tooth comb.
With that, well, you know me. And I-
Yes, we do. You do a good job. Yep.
Okay. I think I can move on now to unfinished business and the Miller Fund.
So Joe had given us some information about Citizens Bank, maybe getting 1.75% interest on some of that money. And then just looking into it a little bit, I found that you have to have a Platinum Plus checking account with them to do that. So maybe somebody should follow up with them and find out what a Platinum Plus checking account requires.
I think it said it was $10,000.
I didn't see that in there, but you think it was in there?
I think so.
Okay.
And that would bring down the effective yield,
Right,
of course.
exactly, yeah.
But still, not so much.
But if our effective yield in the money market is essentially nothing,
Nothing, right.
then
Um,
having,
And what I did not, and I've not contacted Citizens Bank at all, but what I don't know is when do they pay the interest?
Right.
Is it paid monthly or is it paid at the end of the term?
Right.
In which case we would have no funds to
yellow
disperse
folder.
this year.
Yellow folder.
And understand my hesitation because I'm not in favor of this. I don't think this is a prudent investment for an endowment fund. But when I came across that rate, which is above the market, I think I felt it was only prudent to pass this along to all of you.
So I guess, Joe, if you don't mind,
Go ahead,
please.
why are you against this if we can at least get a 1.75 on a portion of the money?
Because there's going to be no growth. It's going to be less than the inflation rate.
But we're even worse than that now?
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I'm being difficult. I'm not willing to compromise.
yes.
Yeah, well,
you
yeah,
are.
sometimes I'm that same way, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Gene has a
Is
comment?
that a business interest rate or is that a personal interest rate?
I think it's open to anybody.
Pardon?
It's open to anybody. It's, Okay.
Because that's where I bank. So, just checking to see if they would take a business.
Does anybody want to look into this?
I nominate you, Steve.
I mean, I already got to be gone 2 days.
He was not here.
Okay, yeah, I'll look
I
into
mean,
it.
it would just be a call to them, say,
We could maybe, how about we ask our select board assistant?
There you go, that's even better, yeah.
sure.
Yeah, she's on the payroll.
Yeah.
And what would be
Why
the
not?
hope, what are
We'll
the
find out
questions
when
that
they
we're?
pay the interest, so we know what our actual yield is. If it is in fact $10,000 that we have to put in the checking account. If it's open to a town or just private citizens or whatever,
Yeah.
so.
I think those are the questions.
Anything else Joe could come up with?
Nope.
And what you would prefer, Joe, is the research that you did in something that would have a bigger yield.
Yes.
Well, I guess I
Van-
wouldn't use the word yield. I would
I mean,
say return,
return.
long-term return.
Return.
And Susan Dagler had some questions, which were good questions. If we did what I suggested, would there be capital gains at the end of the year? And what I said is no, because what I suggested was an index fund that has essentially no capital gains, because all they do is replicate the market. And even if there were capital gains, ours is, it would be under the town's tax ID number and it would all be plowed back in, so there would be no tax consequences.
Okay.
Yeah, there actually are some disclaimers in here, so it would be there's a $25 maintenance fee on the checking account. There's
But I think that's waived if you have.
waived because of the amount of money. So there's, it would, be prudent to,
Look into it.
yep.
Okay. So, this is the part of the meeting I've been looking forward to. I'd like to hear about the S27 meeting that you went to earlier last week.
So,
I was there on the corner. I was waving. Stop.
yeah, I bet you
Pick
were.
me up.
So the S27 is a Senate bill that the goal is to provide primary police coverage to communities and to make it equitable within the state, so that Dummerston's response time from the state police is the same thing as Whitingham or Reedsboro or whatever. And I think I have this right, that the state police cover 35 towns and it's over 1,200 square miles. So they have a pretty significant area. So my input was that, first off, I felt the state should do a better job in funding the state police, the sheriff's department, and Fish and Game, because I felt like all of those were understaffed and underfunded. And I didn't think the town could afford to provide primary police coverage to our residents. So the question still is, what is primary coverage? And they kept saying that they were looking for equitable coverage. And I also reminded them, they talked about constables, and I reminded them that when we did have constables, that the liability insurance was incredible. The training they had to go through and the vehicle and all that they had to go through was expensive to a town. And I also felt like to have something like this that was supposed to go into effect next June was hard on communities like us that were budgeting now for June through July next year. And basically they've said it's not going to go into effect by then anyway. So honestly, it was a morning that I'd been better off probably working. Pretty disappointed. There was 5 senators there, I think, from around the state. There was a lot of discussion, obviously, that pertained to Rockingham. I don't think much came out of it. And I
And
think
did you feel like they were on the wrong track? Is that partly?
I felt like they didn't know what they were even trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
I mean, they're still trying to decide what primary coverage or equitable coverage is. And I would have thought that maybe before the bill got brought forward, that maybe that's something we'd research ahead of time. But it
Sounds like it was a little frustrating.
yeah, it was pretty frustrating. And there was 2 or 3 people there from the Rockingham area that had a lot of concerns, and I think it boiled down more to the local.
Just grab it. Okay.
So anyway, I went.
Thank you.
Somebody else's turn next time.
So, I wonder if you might want to recess until our guests
Mhm.
arrive to continue the discussion on the community center.
Sounds like a really
So before we recess, I'm wondering if we're gonna take any action, and I'm suspecting we're not. So I'm wondering if BCTV would wanna stay for up to a half hour to wait for us to reconvene.
I don't think
They
we
would.
make
It
it.
sounds like they would, so. He's nodding.
He'd like to stay?
It sounds like he'd like to
Well,
stay.
Sure,
so.
it's probably, yeah. It's
Okay.
been an
Get the whole meeting.
interesting meeting so far. He's.
I'll move that we recess.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we are.
I move we reconvene the select board meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have Lester Dunkley, who is one of the trustees of the community center. Right? Do I have that right, that you're a trustee?
Dummerston Community Center, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good. So we had,
I was hoping Gene would be here because we drafted a letter, maybe you've seen it, for another person that wanted to park over.
we hadn't, or at least I haven't.
I haven't, no.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had Hugh actually had a resident who had asked him about parking, and Hugh referred this person to, Gene or someone. And this question comes up every once in a while, and because we lease the building to your organization, you're the ones who have the responsibility for this. So
Right,
we're not trying to step on your toes.
right.
But
right.
we
Yeah.
sort of wanted to know what policy is.
What the policy is, and if you found that letter that Muriel and Taylor. Anyway, we decided it would be best if we take parking for events on an individual basis and try to coordinate it with what we're doing. What I see is if you just say anybody can park down there all the time, then when we want to use the building for a fundraising ourselves or a event, if it's not coordinated, it's going to get all messed up. Matter of fact, on Labor Day weekend, I was using the facility myself for my family gathering or reunion, and I got down there and I see a couple cars in front of the place, and no one around, and I figured, okay, there's somebody parking from the Airbnb, but didn't know who they were. But pretty soon one lady come down and I says, I'd like it if you didn't park right in front of the porch and the entrance to the building and the ramp, because I've got about 15 or 20 cars coming in here myself, in addition to what you have down here too, so let's get coordinated. So that's how I handled that one. And I could see from that experience myself, that's about the only way we can get a handle on using that facility for parking. It has to be on an individual event basis. That's the way I see it. Because and have all the scheduling. I'm not. If it's not done that way, if they just want blanket parking, there's no sense that the board be there at all. You're taking control of the whole thing. That's the way I see it.
Lester, how many parking spots would you say there are?
All depends on how crazy you get, but there should be about, I think you could fit easily 25 or 30 maximum, probably.
Mhm.
And then after that, you'd have to be going onto the lawn and the different lawns and the ball field and everything else. We like to keep that restraint on that a little bit.
Right. And are those spots all plowed in the winter?
The pavement part is plowed, and sometimes the plowing gets pushed over towards the fence a little bit, so some of those are gone at that point.
Okay.
And we don't try to park very much on the hill itself if we can help it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is plowed regularly in the winter.
What's that?
It is plowed regularly in the
town,
winter.
your nice road crew does take care of that, and they come down once with a sander or whatever they need to make one pass at it with a sander. So the hill is pretty good.
We talked earlier about the lease, and I don't remember having seen one. Do you have a copy of the lease with the town?
I don't know if they have one of those in this. I just have a lot of the current things.
We probably have that in the file.
Yeah, we should.
And so Lester, how do you guys coordinate events now in terms of what's happening when? Do you have a calendar?
We have Jean is the calendar keeper.
Uh-huh.
So she is the one that takes care of the events at the community center, and we let her determine what the tariff on renting this particular space or what it is.
So people go through her. If somebody wants to rent the space
That's
or
right.
use the space or
Right.
whatever they
That's
call
right.
Jean.
Right.
She has a master calendar.
So on your parking, do you ask people for a small donation to offset parking, or?
We haven't yet.
Okay.
That
Seemed like a good way to raise some money.
yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is it has to be in a coordinated fashion.
Yeah, right.
Still,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
because it's limited. The parking in the West Village is limited,
Right.
and with what's going on there now, it is becoming a lot more limited. Yeah.
I was just thinking if we scheduled a select board meeting and there was 8 or 10 cars sitting there the night we scheduled a select board meeting, you could end up with more cars than you got room for. So
Yeah. I mean, usually you can park right along the north fence line. And you stack them along through there, and you put a few in the front, and you put a few over on the other side. You probably get 25, 30 cars in there without any problem. Here she is.
I did a parking lot for you.
He's been here for half an hour.
hey, Gene,
to us
I
now.
never recognize this car.
we've been trying to call you and everything here.
Oh, well.
They followed up or not.
They changed where their event was going to
Oh, okay.
They changed where the parking was going to be, so
Yeah.
they decided they
Yeah.
didn't need it.
But
So,
the question comes up every once in a while.
yes.
So
And
this is what we did for
Muriel Taylor.
Muriel Taylor.
Yes.
And we figured this would be about the fairest way and the most.
So you're setting some protocols here.
Right, that's just for the village, because we also you want to have, if you look down there and you see vehicles there, you want to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
yes, there is no overnight parking. I don't mean to interrupt. But, for instance, it's a safety issue also. The librarian in the wintertime comes out at 7 o'clock at night. It's dark. She should be the only car that's left in the parking lot. She should not have to worry that who's that in that car or what have you.
and the other thing that goes on there, have we still got, the library still have the live Wi-Fi set up down? Can you
Yes, as far as I know,
Is that
yes.
24/7?
The schedule, I don't know, yes, but there hasn't been many cars there for a period of time. There were cars that were parked in front.
When quite a while ago, there was you look down there and say, what's that car doing there? And then someone in their car, going like this. So,
Oh, they're using the Wi-Fi?
using Wi-Fi because there's no
Yes.
no service up on the hill, so they come down and use Wi-Fi.
Was there no passcode?
What's that?
There's no
I don't know what the
passcode.
library does do.
There is a password. What it is, I don't know. I guess it's
Or
on their
if
website.
if it's open, I don't know. But, yeah.
So if a family's going to have a, a reunion or something, then the thing they need to do is get in touch with you to find out whether or not it, parking would fit the schedule of the community
Yes.
center and whether it would work in that, and they'd get, work out the details, with you if that was going to work
Yes.
out. And so
Yes. There are music
That's-
lessons there every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Muriel is anticipating a very few people on Sunday, and so she will reserve the 4 spaces for the music lessons on Sunday. It was reserved for a family reunion the Sunday before Labor Day, and as the family arrived, there were 3 cars that were parked there when they arrived in the morning.
Yeah, I told them about that.
Oh, you did, all right.
Okay.
All right.
It's okay.
Yes, and our front room is empty now, and we will be looking for a tenant. And so...
And we don't know how that's going to affect the parking. I mean, this whole thing is,
So
and we want the flexibility of controlling
yeah.
the parking.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I think one of the issues that we want to resolve is it's been clear, at least to me, that if I wanted to rent the community center, or even if I wanted to borrow chairs or whatever, that I would call you, and then the response has been make a donation to the community center. Is there a fee for
I'm not
renting?
sure about what you're actually asking.
Well, so what's coming up here is if someone isn't interested in renting the space or borrowing any of the equipment, but they want to use the parking lot, is that okay? Someone could call you and say, I'm having an event and there are 15 cars that I wonder if they could use the parking lot at the community center. Is that
We haven't discussed that at all.
right? And that's what I think
And-
tonight's
and
about.
I haven't.
Well,
It would have to be definitely be on, if we did that. Would have to be
Absolutely. Nobody's asking about
Yeah.
unsolicited, just like a blanket okay
Yeah.
to park there.
Right.
Or I think what we're asking is parking at the community center one of the things that people can do if they ask and it's coordinated with the community center schedule that you, Jean, organize?
well, we would certainly have to have the information.
Yeah. Oh, it would
What
be
the
just like
time would
anything
be.
else.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Time would be how many cars are anticipating
Yep.
and what's happening at the community center.
Mm-hmm.
Libraries having a special event, then they will tell us. But we pretty much discuss this at our meeting when we know something's coming up. For instance, the DRB is there on the 18th, 17th, or 18th.
Tuesday. Yes, the 18th.
Views will be folding there within the next 2 weeks in the evening. Halloween open house, parking lot is completely full.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Yes.
somebody's got to organize it. But
Oh, yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a pretty simple question that we're asking. Is the parking lot also something that people can ask permission to use, just like they would ask permission to use the community center? Everything goes
Yes.
through you.
Yeah.
Yes, however, it's a question that would require, the answer would require information.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. How many cars? How long are they
So-
going to be there?
So I think the answer is yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Lester
Yes.
actually said earlier that
And it is town property, therefore, it all falls back on.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you do have the lease, so you are.
Well, who has the
coordinator.
liability?
Well, we have
Well, depends.
liability.
The biggest pocket does. Always.
yeah, in the long run, you're right. Yeah.
No, but what
I
is it
saw
that
Lester.
falls on the town? I want to be clear about that.
Well, it's town property.
Well, I know, but so what is the it's leased to the trustees.
Yes.
And so when you have an event there, if somebody were to get hurt,
We
who's
have a
responsible?
liability policy
Yes.
for our own.
Through, yeah.
I think that's spelled out in the lease. If I
That's right, that's
It was
correct.
3 or 4 years ago we wrote the lease.
Yeah.
We probably better get
Yes.
it dug
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But
And you
it's a-
haven't increased the fee either.
yeah, we should double that. I think.
I think actually what I'm trying to say is that we have a responsibility to the town
Yeah.
also.
I just think I told Lester you should ask for if somebody wants to reserve that parking area for a Super Bowl party. Say okay, but it makes a $50 donation. But,
Yeah.
no, I don't know why we got to belabor this. I mean, obviously they're willing to work with people that ask and
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready to
Well,
wrap it up.
go home.
Well,
Yeah.
I actually have some questions.
Sure.
Apparently, there are people parking there
Right, I was
without
gonna-
permission.
I wondered
Okay.
about
Now,
Absolutely.
That's correct.
now I take it these are probably Airbnb. You know,
Probably.
We-
uh,
Or
I have
possibly.
gone and taken names and license plate numbers.
I would be careful about making an assumption about who
Well,
that is.
yeah.
I mean, I
Okay,
think you're.
Thank you. That's a good point.
I don't-
I apologize. I withdraw that. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
But
Yes.
are you inquiring? Or when people are parking there overnight, are you doing anything about it?
Well, when this reservation, when they got there and there were 3 cars parked there, one person showed up and was told they had to move the car.
Move the cars.
Yes.
And that's why he handled that one.
Well, I understand
Yeah,
that.
but
Okay.
but if
Yeah.
it's a straight car gets down there, we haven't called the tow truck yet.
Right, okay.
That's next on our list, but we
Okay.
haven't done it yet.
So would you call this an ongoing problem with unauthorized
Well-
people parking there?
I would say it has actually been within the past year. On a time period,
Yeah.
within the past year. I go in there at different hours of the day, or early evening, and occasionally will be a car parked. I don't know why, but they got to park right in the driveway that goes around and back. The car will be sitting there, and there's nobody around.
Okay.
What,
Well,
That's kind of strange.
actually, on our agenda, the zoning administrator is looking into parking, and I told him that I actually drafted an ordinance that was discussed at the community center, and it received much less than overwhelming support, and we never even took it to a vote, I don't think. But it's something that he has inquired about. And one thing that did occur to me is that we talked about also snow plowing in the village, I mean, I would hope if let's say we had a big storm and all the cars had to be taken off of West Street, in order to plow. I would hope that we could consider the community center, at least on a temporary basis, for to place those cars while the plowing takes
I think it'd
place.
be a lot safer to put them down on Route 30 for a couple hours.
Absolutely. Okay.
But I mean,
I would hope
I'd
that
be-
you would be open
yeah,
to that.
I think we could be open to that, but it's the unknown people
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's what the big problem is.
I understand.
Would you like help or support in terms of unknown cars down there? Like,
such as?
well,
Call Geraldine.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's not a good thing to have random cars parked down there. you
No,
know?
it isn't, not at all.
I'm really appreciative of the clarity in this letter, and it would be, helpful to have protocol for parking there. All vehicles are off the lot at, except when given special permission, all vehicles are off the lot at 9. There's no all-night parking, no parking on the ball field. Just have really clear protocol of when you do give someone permission, it's within these parameters.
Well, there it
Which
is.
is what the letter
There it is.
Yeah, right, right.
So,
But first, we have to have someone inquire, someone ask.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
You're talking unauthorized, nobody.
No.
has-
I'm saying it. I don't think it's been clear. It certainly hasn't been clear to me that
This is the first letter.
I
that
could
tried to be
ask
done.
to use the parking lot. I knew I could ask to use the building, but I didn't know I could just ask to use the parking lot. And so that's, I think that's what we were establishing. And it's good to know that you're developing, specific protocols around that. And I think with the 4 spaces reserved in front of the building, you might have 4 spaces that are always reserved, that have a reserved sign on them, and they're always reserved. And then there's always 4 spaces, and so
You
it
have to be
becomes
careful about that.
easy.
Instead of reserved, you have the handicap parking right
Yeah,
there.
or
So you have
whatever.
to have something available for them, so you don't just say maybe reserved for handicap, maybe, but but you have to have a clear.
Whatever makes it efficient
Yeah, right,
and
right.
clear.
Yeah.
I think making it efficient is to let them
Do their
keep
job.
doing it like they're doing. They've got letter. We know that if someone wants to park there for an event or something, call Jean
Yes,
and they'll take care of it. It's their deal.
absolutely.
I'm ready to go home. We've talked enough.
And I have one quick suggestion for the folks that are parking overnight, and we kind of deal with this in our office because we're right next to the courthouse and we get a lot of folks parking there, even though we have a sign. Just make up a little friendly little note card that says this is the community center property. Parking is by permission. There is no overnight
Yeah,
parking,
that would be
and just
good.
put it on their windshield.
We did discuss that,
Okay.
yes. We haven't written one yet, or maybe we won't have to.
And maybe we ought to have the,
Per order of the Dummerston Select-Board?
no, per
No, per order of the
us, but
trustees.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
with
You're responsible
the consent of the,
Yeah.
or something like that. With it.
I think the
Great.
parking lot is in good hands.
I
I'm
do
going to
too.
go
I do
home
too.
All right.
Yeah.
and straight.
Thank you. Sorry that I was waiting for Lester.
Oh,
He
In
was
the
waiting for
parking
you.
lot.
okay.
right.
Is there anything else? I'm not gonna make a motion, we go home here, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I'll
vote
se-
we adjourn.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
We got 3
Okay.
seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.